Been a while. And the cat will not shut up immediately. I've just fed you. What a great start. Welcome to episode 320 of Mike White's podcast. I'm Jack, as always, joined by Casey.
Yeah, then. I'm not familiar with this. I've forgotten where I am.
Weird. Yeah. How's things, mate, anyway? You all right?
Yeah, not bad, you?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, if anyone out there, I doubt anyone will have almost no one live this time. But you think we're unprepared normally. Oh, just you wait.
Oh.
I think the message was like just before 5 to 6, and it's currently 4 minutes past 6. So this is going to go great. I suppose the main thing, because we talked about the postseason stuff, us going up, FAC, staying, things like that. It is very early days, and obviously it would be ridiculous to start panicking already and stuff. But how's your confidence level given how the summer's gone so far?
I think my confidence is somewhat based on a few of the other teams around us as much as what we've done. Obviously, I will say I'm fairly happy with the signings we've made so far. Obviously, becoming the Northern Harlem Globetrotters is one way to go about it, but
Big Bastards FC, I think, is the way to go with the description.
Yeah, but yeah, it's been quite interesting because obviously the kind of the main thing for us is the last 2 years, all the promoted teams have been instantly relegated. So I think there is a lot that needs to be done to make us competitive and try and stop that from happening. But as I kind of look around a few of the teams in the Premier League, certainly, I mean, I'm looking at what's happening at Brentford at the moment, thinking like if they don't get this right, they could end up in a world of trouble this year.
Yeah, they. By the way, does this microphone sound okay? Basically, there's a load of traffic and car horns and stuff right outside my window, so I've quickly nicked my work headset. Yeah, then look, Keith Andrews might end up being. It might be that he's a very good coach and that he's going to do a really good job, but all I can see is the pundit, who is terrible. So, like, and it does. And I know that they promoted from within when they went from Dean Smith to Thomas Frank. But I hadn't actually realised that Thomas Frank was a much more experienced manager than I thought he was before that. I think we'll be on about it in the pub, and he like managed Bromby for like 3 years and stuff, didn't he? And
yeah, and he'd sort of gone up a number of the youth teams with Denmark and with the Danish national team as well. So, he had kind of been there in that sort of role before. It seems a really odd point for all that they have built in this, and there is going to be a massive difficulty for them because essentially to lose 3 prominent strikers like they will have done in 2 summers is going to be a huge blow to them. While financially, I think they'll do quite well out of it. If you don't replace them well, on top of losing your manager, I do think they could be a team that could end up getting dragged right into it. Whereas we have kind of, I think we were likened to Brentford in some parts, in as much as, they went up, they had a lot of big lads at the back.
Yeah.
And still do. And I think, obviously we're a little bit behind on this now, but the talk is, kind of the analytics have shown we're not that great in the air. And I would say I don't think you need analysis for that.
Yeah, well, I think the analytics have shown that we're not great at it, but I think it's also that the research they did into newly promoted teams that have managed to make a go of it, such as Brentford, it's been, are you physically strong, dominant in the air, things like that. Like obviously we mentioned, we'll finish off a little bit because you are relying at the minute with the way that the gap between the Premier League and the Championship keeps growing, you need someone who shouldn't get relegated to have a shit season. You need one to give, and that isn't just us. That's us and Burnley and Sunderland. We're probably requiring one of them to be shit. And right now, I suppose Wolves were awful for half a season, but second half of the season they were pretty good. Brentford would be the one that, from the outside looking in, you'd think were most likely. And Burma going, it hasn't happened yet, but it's gonna. That's probably their best player. Gone. And I think he'll be the biggest loss. But I think Norgard's going to be a big loss in middle. Has he actually gone to Arsenal yet, or is he about to?
Yeah, I believe it's. I think it's on the verge, isn't it?
Yeah. And I mean, that is, serious players that they're losing. They've lost Mark Fleckenham and replaced him with Kelleher, who I think is a better goalkeeper. So that I don't think that'll hurt them at all. The thing with us is it's really early days, but I look at if we were panicking about what the squad looks like right now. Obviously Christensen went beforehand, but was never involved anyway. Rothwell's loan is done, and apparently he's off to Rangers, which he'll do really well there. He'll stand out. He'll have a good season up there. Solomon gone back. I wouldn't be at all shocked if they look at him in pre-season and go, yeah, he's pretty good, but he's not Matty's Tell, and he's not Dejan Kulusevski. And I think that he'll end up going out somewhere, whether it's back. I reckon that'll be something that gets sorted in the last 10 days of the transfer window, whether it's towards or somewhere else. Obviously, Gilavogi goes. We're still not sure what's happening with Byram, and Junior Firpo has officially gone as well. That's a few players out. Firpo being the one that would worry me the most, because as good as Solomon was, we've got other players in that position. And then we've got Jack Harrison back, who might be involved. Greenwood and Gellart are back, but they won't be staying. And then we've got Big Bastards FC. So Lucas Mecha or Nemecha, I still don't know which. And then Jacobiol and Sebastian Bornau to be big-ass centre-backs. Bornau, I know properly fuck all about. I don't think I'd ever heard his name before 3-4 days ago.
Yeah, I'd said sure. Grand.
If you read into the stats, he's in the top percentile for winning the ball in the air out of all of Europe. So I think my dad will like him.
I mean, there is part of me that looks at this and just thinks at some point you're going to be there going, look, I know we're getting absolutely battered here by Wolves, but look how many headers we've won.
Yeah. Yeah, he's the one that I know less about. Because we were linked with Biol for a while, I did look into a bit more, and I'm quite pleased with Biol as a signing. He looks to be quite good on the ball, defensively really sturdy. He's not, I think he might not quite be quick enough for the Premier League, but I don't think he's going to be a problem in terms of pace. It's not Matt Heath. I think he'll be fine. The thing that I did like the look of was there was a lot of really good long passing in the stuff that I saw. And I think we're going to need that because we are not going to be 70% of the ball anymore this season. We're going to have to be able to hit counter-attacks, especially Dan James is going to have to fuck off behind the left back, and we're going to have to hit that channel. And if we've got centre-backs that fancy playing that ball, and if Ampadu can fancy playing that ball out of midfield, that I think is going to be something we see a really lot of in the first month of the season.
See, what you've done there is you've taken a look at some of his statistics and kind of painted a picture as to what he's like as a player. I like the fact he's got the same chin as Johnny Bravo.
Yeah, it's a strong jawline.
I think if if when we play Wolves, if he challenged for a header and got punched by Jose Sarr, I think that man's going to land on his feet and just stare him down.
Yeah.
Fuck off, Rasmus.
Yeah. It's folks to Eintracht Frankfurt, who I believe played in the Champions League, if I remember rightly, about where they finished last season.
It just seems wrong, doesn't it?
Mm.
I think obviously with these signings, it does raise the question: Are we looking at moving to a back three? Which
I definitely think there'll be some games where we do, at least situationally, maybe last 20 minutes of games if we try to hang on to something. I would be surprised if there aren't games where we do that. Oh, I should mention as well, just I don't even care. Werber's off to Werder Bremen by the sounds of it.
Yeah. Yeah. It got to the point where, because of how little he was actually around last season, I more just forgot he was here. So,
to be, and I'm not even going to say generous, to be fair to him, the few games that he played last season, he was perfectly fine.
Middlesbrough.
In the league.
Okay. Right.
I'll be honest.
Just
I
wanted
don't
to
count.
clarify.
As bad as he was, and he was the worst player on the pitch that included everyone being bad. But that game, when everyone's that bad, I've just written that game off entirely.
In the depths of despair of Georgie's departure. Yeah. I will be interested because I think a couple of things I look at defensively. One, obviously, it means you've got that competition for places now between the two new signings, Strauch and Roden. There is, I think I have questions over Ampadu's pace to play in the middle of midfield in the Premier League. I think technically he would be fine, but I don't know if the pace is there for it.
I personally think Ampadu is going to be good. I don't think he's going to suddenly be that good that everyone's going to be going, fuck, I wish he hadn't declared for Wales. I'm not saying he's going to, but I think that he will be good. Same with Tanaka. So I think if we get another centre mid in with that, because I think we're going to see a fair few games where it's a 4-3-3 instead of 4-2-3-1.
That's what you're saying is you want Brendan Aronson to drop deeper.
Well, at the minute, that's what it's looking a bit like. But it appears that we are after a centre mid, because even if they weren't the actual players, it does appear that we did want Habib Diarra, who, from the bits I could piece together, and the one centre goal versus England game looks pretty good. Gone to Sunderland. It appears that we did quite fancy Noah Siddiqui from Union Saint-Gaulois, who is going to, where is it? Oh, yes, Sunderland. Which is interesting. It seems like we had a value that we weren't going to go above. They've gone above it to what Strasbourg and Saint-Gaulois wanted. I did say that from a neutral, before the playoffs, from a neutral perspective, the most interesting team to go up would be Sunderland, because in the Championship they just bought a load of kids, so they're probably going to do the same again, and that seems to be what they're doing. But whether they were the actual two centre mids leads, whether that's the top of our list or just players who were on our list, we have no way of knowing. There was another link, Anton Stach, who is from Hoffenheim, 26, 26 years old, which I believe, seeing as Jacobiol is 26 and Sebastian Bornau is 26 and Lucas Demetra is 26, I think that we might have been looking for players at about peak age, quote unquote. And I can also believe it because he's about 6'4". I mean, I don't know.
Safe to say we have a type.
I don't know if that's what we're doing, but it does read a little bit like Y Scout sort by.
I can't believe Lucas Demetra is only 26.
I couldn't have placed him within 4 years either way, because I remember he had that run of form and he did get some Germany caps, and I remember highly rated youngster at Man City. But I would have had no clue how long ago that highly rated youngster at Man City was. It could have been 3 years ago. It could have been 10.
Let's just see. I just want to see. Yeah, so he made his Man City appearances in 2017-18. And then what a pattern of loans this is. Preston.
I'm going to say, I remember that Preston was one of them, and I think that's the only one I remember. But did he end up at Middlesbrough? Was he one of the ones that went there?
So he went Preston, then he went to Wolfsburg for half a season, went back and went straight to Middlesbrough.
Right.
And then the next season at Anderlecht, where he got 18 goals in 37. Then got his permanent move to Wolfsburg.
Yeah. As I said, with Mecha, I can understand making that signing. I'm not particularly excited about it, but if he can stay relatively fit, which is the big issue with him, he should be a solid squad player to have. This cat keeps pulling this curtain, and it's very annoying. Yeah, and the fact that he's on a free, and I'm assuming isn't on giant wages, or at least base wages for if he gets injured. Because you can never believe the actual wages list online, but at Wolfsburg it said he was on like 30 to 35. And I wouldn't expect it to be much. I wouldn't expect it to be any more than that, really. Maybe the bonuses are higher. And it's only a 2-year deal. It is a little... In terms of Premier League money, it's very cheap. So it's probably worth taking the chance on. But we are just about getting to the stage of needing to start seeing some serious movement because the squad is so threadbare now. And as much as no one cares that Verber's leaving, very much including me, seriously, who's going to play fucking left back? Is Pascal Struijk our left back? Is that what's happening? Because what's his name? Goodmanson from Lille sounds like the most likely one. And when he got asked about it when he was away with Sweden in the Swedish press, and he didn't, because there was a rumour that he'd already been at Thorpe Arch, and he said, "No, I haven't been at Thorpe Arch, but I do want to go play in the Premier League, and that would be great." And Leeds are a massive club, and so
Leeds are also a Premier League team.
So I think that there's probably some truth to that one.
Yeah, I mean, I think as we've kind of gone through, Sam Byram was really propping up a number of positions last season. And obviously, I think we said last time, which admittedly is also several months ago now, that I think it'd be a good thing if he stayed on to be kind of a, part of the leadership group or something like that. But
third choice left back, third choice right back.
Yeah.
Just on the bench, play the last 5 minutes in defensive situations.
Yeah. But yeah, so you're now sort of looking at, we've only really got Bogle as a right back.
Well, look, we are doing the thing that we should do, and this is the sensible thing to do. We are forgetting that Isaac Schmidt exists.
Oh God, I feel so bad.
Now we should do that because Daniel Farke does that, and he is going to be the manager. But it was only when you got towards the end of that sentence that I remembered. Oh yeah, Schmidt.
I'm going to say now, these are two very different scenarios of, if we don't get Manor Solomon back, I'm completely fine with Willie Gnonto or Ramaz Alaji being our winger, even though they weren't the first choice for that position last season.
Me too, to be honest. I rate both those players quite highly. It's why, as good as Solomon was, if we have that, let's say, 20 million to spend, I'd rather spend it on a different position.
Yeah, because that felt like neither one of those players was getting in because of how good James and Solomon were. I do not want this to be the situation in which we go, right, we didn't really ever use you in the Championship. Do you fancy a crack at the Premier League? To Isaac Schmidt, and just go, let's just hope for the best, shall we?
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure there will be movement. Like we've been linked with Lucas Perry, the goalkeeper from Lyon today, who is meant to be pretty good. I know he's good on Football Manager, but we're going to be linked with loads, and I'm sure that we are going to sign a keeper. But to be honest, I was hoping we'd have a goalkeeper in really early, so I wouldn't have to think about it. So it'd just be done. Right now, it's far too early to worry, but I can't say I'm massively confident looking at the squad.
By the way, how old is Lucas Perry?
I am going to, because it's how we do things, I'm going to assume that he's 26. Oh, he's 27.
He's 27, so close.
I mean, like, I think a lot of that will depend on whether Lyon actually get relegated or not.
Yeah, that's going to be an interesting one with what happens with them, because I think there will be a few teams circling around there and a few bargains to be picked up.
Yeah, I know I just said that we don't need a winger, but if they go down and Malik Fofana fancies it, I'll have him.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've only watched him play about 6 games, but he was brilliant in all of
them. But yeah, I know they won't say it because in this day and age, you don't just really announce that you don't want a player because obviously it plummets their transfer value. I wouldn't mind kind of knowing if Jack Harrison is actually being considered to come back into the squad, because as I've said, I'm not against it, even taking out my own bias for the man. Like, he wouldn't be my starting winger at this point, but if you told me our squad, our 4 wingers were James, Ramazani, Nonto, and Harrison, grand, I could then probably look and think, outside of, like you say, a Fofana becoming available at a good player coming available at a reasonable price, or probably a bit cheaper than you'd expect. It's not the area I think we need to strengthen.
No, I agree. I mean, look, Harrison, the way anyone fucking off on loan like that is annoying. He's the one that I sort of have, just in terms of the loan clause itself, I just think Victor giving him it is so stupid, because it was like March of the relegation season that he gave him that contract. It was such a ridiculous...
Having been at Leicester's training ground on deadline day.
Yeah, I don't... Look, I'd be lying if I said, I really want Harrison back. I think he could be... But if he's one of 4 wingers, it would be like Aronson. If he works hard and does all right for us, he's never going to be anyone's favourite, but he can be fine. We need a centre mid. We need a 10. We desperately need a goalkeeper. We probably need 2 left backs.
Well, I mean, you look at we have 4 centre forwards on the books at the moment now,
and I think that we need a number 9 quite desperately.
Yeah, I would say none of them are. If I know Joel Peru had a very good season goal-wise.
Yeah. And
that is taking into account he was not a regular goal scorer.
Yeah, he had an odd season, didn't he? Like, I think Joel Peru, I've said it before, if he's on the bench for us, I'm absolutely fine with that. And if he comes on with 20 minutes left when we're chasing a game, I think he will pick up some goals, because I think he's easily a Premier League quality finisher. I just don't know if his all-round game is there.
The speed of a Premier League game happening to that man.
Yeah, like, it depends who you're playing. Like, if you're at home against a team that you've got a real shot at beating, I wouldn't mind him playing in that, even if it's as for 10. But you can't have Joel Peru up front tear-arsing round when you're playing against a really good side, because it just ain't going to work.
I mean, I like the idea that he can tear ass around.
Everything's relative. I can tear ass around. You just wouldn't know to look at me. It would be very slow. You'd think, why is he moving so slowly? And I'd be running my ass off. It would just look like I wasn't. It's weird. But yeah, like you were saying, we've got 4 strikers, because we've got Peru, Bamford, Metru, and Joseph. If we started any of them at number 9 on the opening day, you wouldn't be particularly happy.
I'd be a bit disappointed.
Yeah.
Joseph,
And I like it's too soon to say with Mecha, but I like all of those players. I just don't think that they're there.
if you could combine them into one manageable centre forward.
Yeah.
I mean, the Joseph situation is quite interesting at the moment because obviously there's clearly interest in him, and from a profit and sustainability point of view, he is pure profit to us. So I can see from that regard why there would be an interest in selling him. The flip side of it for me is that I think there will be decent championship clubs who would be interested in having him as their first choice centre forward. And if he has a good season in the championship, you could probably put another 10 million on that value then all of a sudden.
Yeah, I think that we will end up selling Joseph, but I don't want us to. And if we do, it's very Charlie Cresswell. In that, like, I don't want him to go, but given the situation, I can understand if they do it. It's good for PSR. I don't think he's going to play because I really liked Cresswell. I didn't want him to go, but we had Roden and Strauch, and the second he picked Ampadu at centre back over playing Cresswell, Cresswell knew he wasn't going to play, and he was never going to want to stay. Yeah, Alex, who we will mention later because I will go through some of the predictions. Alfie Doughty as a second choice left back. I like Doughty. He did just play every week in the team that got relegated from the Championship, though. So maybe he isn't as good as he was a couple of years ago. I mean, I'm assuming he'll be cheap. So I wouldn't mind that at all. And crucially, he takes a belting set piece and he's got a bit of a wand of a left foot, which if you're going to make your team into Big Bastards FC, can we sign someone that can take a set piece? Because we only had one and he's off to Rangers.
I mean, I know we've not really mentioned him so far today, but Ilya Gruer's still there.
Again, someone who can take a set piece more than twice.
I hark for the days when Jack Harrison and Brendan Aronson used to stand over a corner, in a sense.
Yeah, we might be seeing that again.
Well, they're standing by the corner stretching.
Maybe that's the big brain play. Maybe it is a back three and Jack Harrison is left wing back.
So it's the Vincent man in the chair. Yeah. The other one, like Joseph, is given what happened to him last season. Is it worth selling Meslier, or is it worth sending him out on loan? Because I think his value will be fairly low. Like, I know he's got age on his side, so that will always keep it at a slightly better value. But one at this stage,
if you're going to sell Ilan Meslier, it has to be now. He has 1 year left on his contract.
Okay, you know what?
That's what I was checking because I thought that was true, but I wasn't confident. Also, Transfermarkt with its valuation of 16 million is optimistic as fuck.
What's the currency conversion there?
Well, it wasn't yen. No, yeah, they've got it's like 16 million euros. I mean, if we got 6, I'd be surprised.
I mean, it's still about what we paid for him anyway.
Yeah. Was it about 5?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I know at this point with his contract, it makes no difference now for PSNR, but yeah, grand. I would like to see him sign a new deal and go out on loan. I don't think that will happen. I think he will get sold, but I think it's one of those because I think it is a bit of a shame because when there was all the talk for selling him at the start of in the summer after relegation,
when Chelsea were apparently after him.
Yeah, where
and I'm amazed Chelsea didn't buy him because they buy loads of shit goalkeepers.
Buy loads of shit players.
Man, on the subject of that, Georgi Petrovic, who was basically their like Conference League goalkeeper last season, he's another one that's apparently off to Sunderland for about 25 million euros, which seems like a lot. He's looked like a good keeper when I've seen him, but given he didn't play that much in the Premier League and they did put Robert Sanchez back in, like that sounds like a lot. I mean, they did need a new goalkeeper because Anthony Patterson wasn't particularly great last season, considering this went up. But still, I'm surprised at that one. Seems like a lot of money.
Yeah. Carl Darlow, be fine.
I'm fine with Darlow being sat on our bench all season. If he plays every week, and he did really well when he came in, I have gone from someone who doesn't rate Carl Darlow to thinking Carl Darlow is fine.
I now accept him as a perfectly reasonable goalkeeper.
Cromulent goalkeeper. But yeah, if we were going into the season and Carl Darlow's our number one, I would be thinking, surely as a Premier League club, even with only 1 year of Premier League money, we can do better than this.
Somehow Sam Greenwood starting at 10.
Yeah, that's gone quiet because he was being linked with Leicester and Sunderland quite heavily. I think the Sunderland links were just because Arsenal nicked him out of Sunderland's academy, didn't they? And then so I think that's how that was. But if Leicester want him, can we use him to knock like a couple of million off Bilal El Khanous and we'll have him? Because I really like him.
I mean, he was about their good player last year.
Yeah, even in games where it didn't work out and they didn't get out going forward, every time he got the ball, I thought, yeah, you like a black. It's a bit like that in Enciso. Every time I watch him, I think you've got something. I mean, I did have a theory at one point that because they kept not playing him, maybe we could try and nab Evan Ferguson even on loan because Brighton are playing, but they've just sold João Pedro to Chelsea today, haven't they, for about 60 million quid? So I'm assuming Evan Ferguson's going to play next season.
Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I know there's been a bit of talk about McAtee. I've seen recently, nothing serious though.
No, I think he might go, but I think he'll go higher up the food chain than us. There's a lot of players that I've seen that seem to be available, and they're all players that I go, I think someone else will buy them though. Like the Rodrigo Muniz stuff seems to be getting a little bit quieter. Although Fulham have started being linked with strikers, which is probably a good sign for that. Because I would quite like Muniz. I think he's a good player. It's a weird one. We'll have to see what kicks up because we are at the stage. And one thing that does appear to be the case with the 49ers is we might go from quiet to, he's signing this evening on anyone.
If in doubt, Emi Buendia.
Yeah, I mean...
It's never going to go away.
There is it would not at all shock you, would it? And it would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, he is a decent player. I would be a bit worried because I know, obviously, yes, he went to Bayer Leverkusen in the end. Hasn't played a lot of football in a couple of years, so would need, and it's the sort of signing for us where you need him to hit the ground running.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much he played in that Leverkusen loan because I didn't. The second we didn't get him, I'd stopped really.
He was dead to you.
Yeah. Right. What was his 2 goals in 11 games. Second half of the season, playing like not really enough minutes. Yeah, there's not a lot of 90 minutes in there. So yeah, we'd have to see.
Sorry, I just noticed where he had a loan spell.
Is this the callback to the thing that I mentioned right back at the time?
Yeah.
Where he was at a certain club in Spain where we sent Yosuke Deguchi to ruin his career. And it was then.
Yeah.
Kizzy, genuinely, why has that team's name disappeared out of my head?
I don't know. They are a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah, that's it. Cultural Leonessa. So I remembered he was because I remember him going there and going, well, he'd better not be any good because we're supposed to be partnered with them.
Poor Yosuke.
Yeah. Yeah, that's sort of everything that really need to talk about. It sounds like Dan James is signing a new 4-year deal, which makes sense. I think he's down to like 1 year left, and he's definitely earned it with his performances.
Yeah, and I genuinely think he would be a massive loss to us. Like, I think the money to replace him at this stage would be a big chunk of our transfer budget.
Yeah, I know that. I'm looking forward to seeing how he does in the Premier League this season, because it was always just technically he didn't seem quite up to it at times. And don't get me wrong, he's never going to be. He's not going to be really tricky. He's not going to be someone who does things that you technically can't believe. But the reason why I think he'll be better this time is I think his decision making has got so much better in the last couple of years. But that's judging it against championship sides. So need to see if that translates. But he seemed to make such better decisions in the final third.
Yeah, I think his don't get me wrong, you still have the Dan James moments. Is it the Middlesbrough game where he has that glaring miss and then about 90 seconds later thunders it into the top corner?
Yeah, in what was a slightly more difficult chance.
Yeah.
They were both good chances, but the second one was definitely more difficult than the first.
But yeah, I think Dan James has definitely improved his composure. Now whether that's something that will remain with a game that is happening at a higher speed than it typically would in the Championship, I don't know for this stage, but I think he is a fantastic option for us, and I think, like you say, the idea that should Farker actually let someone play a long ball out from defence is a relatively easy option to get us up the field.
Yeah. I do think we're going to see more of that. I think we're just going to have to. I don't think you're going to get a choice. Now, don't get me wrong, their players weren't good enough, but you saw what happened last season when the team tries to do 75% of the possession ball when they're not as good as the opposition with Southampton. Now, don't get me wrong, our team is better than Southampton's was at the start of last season. But it's not by so much that you can get away with doing stuff like that. Unfortunately, everyone is so fit and quick and powerful now. You can't really... I don't think you could do the thing that we did under Bielsa now, of just coming up, doing the same thing, and just outrunning everyone. You might be able to get 1 or 2% above them, but you're not going to be 7-8% above them like we were. I think it's definitely more difficult now than it was a few years ago to make the step up.
I said, I do think the criticism of Farker for the last 2 years that we probably weren't taking enough risks will actually benefit us this year. And as much as I think he will remain fairly pragmatic, and I think he'll still want us to play on the front foot, but I think it will be measured. It wouldn't entirely shock me if, you did see games where Pascal Strout plays as the left back and you have him sort of invert to make it a back three and just let Bogle attack as much as he likes.
Well, I mean, if we think back to when Fark first came in, that was his original plan. Like, he was trying to have a more defensive left back that sort of inverts into the middle because it was Yelda.
Yeah, that the ill-fated start to the season for many of those young players, admittedly.
Because it was Yelda being a more defence-first left-back that inverts, and Luke Ayling having the average position of about the furthest player forward on the pitch on the other side. And I think that we might see a little bit of that with maybe Strout starting a few games at left-back, tucking into form a situational back three, and Bogle pushing on.
I'd be perfectly okay with that, because I think you're going to see... I assume it goes back to Ampadu and Tanaka in this as your two sort of two deeper line midfielders, and then
You need a 10.
And then please God, save us from Brendan Aronson. I can't.
I mean, right now it is Aronson. Like, we'd have to see what happens. But yeah, I'll be more worried if we start getting a couple of games into pre-season and the players still aren't here. That'll be when I start worrying about it. Obviously, pre-season is going to be very annoying again because we're not going to be able to watch maybe 3 games in Germany until it's done. So you can just avoid, like I remember last season, I just avoided spoilers, and they did upload the 90 minutes pretty quick.
The one thing, because obviously reading the notes that because Leeds fans have been barred from the games, and advised not to travel,
which is stupid, but I'm only annoyed because they didn't say it if the authorities had told the club 3 months ago, fine, don't leave it till now.
Yeah, because I mean, what was it last time they'd said it was due to
the Euros?
Yeah, due to the Euros, and then. But I mean, this all stems back to the 2017, 2018? Is it the trip over there that ended up with a big brawl?
I think it might be earlier than that. I don't remember where it was, but I know that basically there was a load of German football fans showed up in Balaclavas, wasn't there?
Yeah, there was like it. From the reports I read, it was very much a lead in what might be shocking to other fans. Leeds were not the aggressors in this.
Yeah, it's an odd because I remember when that happened, and I remember people being really caught out by it. And it's not the first time that stuff like that has happened, and that will be the actual reason that they're not wanting any Leeds fans there. And that is I'm fine with that as a reason, but say it 3 months ago, and then either Daniel Farke can go, look, I know it sucks, but we went there last season, it worked well, we're still going to do it. Okay, fine. Or Leeds can choose to do it somewhere else. Don't do it end of June.
I want to go back home and spend some time with Sharon and the kids, and we will put on the barbecue and we'll get the lads together.
Yeah. Obviously, I'm not the person who's going to go, but it is the same place as last year. And as soon as it finished last year, the YEP and everyone were allowed to say where it was. So if you look up the articles from then, you'll know exactly where it is. And if you want to go, they won't let you in the ground. But if I remember rightly from them grounds, you'd have been able to just stand outside it and watch it through the fence.
And just stand by the hillock, and you'll be fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit frustrating, and I think, given that Leeds fans aren't allowed to travel to that, the ticket prices that I've seen for the games in Dublin and is it Norway? Do we play Man United?
Isn't it Sweden this time because it was Norway last time?
I don't remember.
I don't either.
But the ticket pricing for those is a bit ludicrous for a pre-season friendly.
Yeah, and especially now don't get me wrong, their squad is big enough that they could send decent ones to both. But didn't we realise that because AC Milan never announced that friendly on their social channels and stuff like we did, and aren't they playing Chelsea the day after? So it's probably at the Aviva, massive crowd, all full of Leeds fans versus sort of AC Milan juvenile.
Yeah. So that'd be an interesting one to see, kind of what gets sent over for that. So it ultimately means, and I don't know the 21s have announced a couple of games. We've got the Leeds United 11 against Guiseley, haven't we? And
I haven't even seen them, but I assumed that, like we do that every year, don't we? So
yeah, we have announced a home friendly, haven't we?
Yeah, was it Villarreal?
It's normally a Spanish team, isn't it?
Yeah, I think it was Villarreal. My memory is but this is the problem when you do.
I'm finally gonna get to see Juan Fran. Finally.
When you do properly zero prep, you do forget things. It is Villarreal on the 2nd of August, and then the Milan game on the 9th.
I've got Juan Fran mixed up. Who am I thinking of?
You're thinking of someone that plays for Villarreal now?
Yeah.
Because Juan Fran was the Atletico Madrid right back forever, wasn't he?
Yeah. Who am I thinking of? Oh, well.
I'm trying to figure out who you could mean because I'm trying to remember who they still have. Because my brain went to players who played there years ago.
I mean, Juan Fran is retired and 40 now, so it's not...
Are you thinking of Juan Foyth? Who used to play for Spurs, so you've probably seen anyway?
Yeah, it could be. Why not?
Are you thinking of getting to see Alfonso Pedraza again?
I'm always thinking about getting to see Alfonso Pedraza again. It's like Barcelona. It's Barcelona. It's Alfonso Pedraza.
Yeah. So yeah, as I say, I'm not panicking yet, but I definitely couldn't say I'm confident.
Yeah, not panicking. I'm slightly nervous.
Yeah. So obviously we're not going to go through everything from last season's predictions because it's a bit out of date, and we were normally there would have been pods in between all this. It's safe to say there's been a lot on. So but there's the headline above all is that Connie's won, and Connie's won by a fair bit. Like the overall points, obviously we had all this pre-season stuff, and then 2 points for correct result and 8 for a correct score. Everything all in, everything done. Connie has 191 points. Second is Alex Bennison, 161. Then me on 142, Benny on 140, and Casey on a gentleman's 117.
Oh, God. Oh, dear. I had some bad predictions.
Yeah. There's a few that stand out. Like, for instance, here's where a lot of the damage was done. Now, don't get me wrong, Connie had him 5th, which is bad, with Luton. But the other 4 of us all had him in the top 2. So we all lost loads of points for that. I had one good... I got 2 of the relegations right. Obviously, Luton getting relegated was by far everyone's worst prediction. But a shout out to Casey, who had Nottingham Forest in 19th.
Yeah.
Slightly worse than Benny, who had him 18th. That was a fairly bad one to stand out. It was. The only person to get the first Premier League boss to go was Connie, who had Ten Hag. So there's a few of those things that really stood out. It's your championship stuff that really did you.
Well, I've also got. I do know I had Hull in the playoffs as well.
Yes, and you had them 3rd.
Fuck.
But yeah, they only just they just stayed up, but that was bad for your points. Obviously, you had Luton winning the league, which I can't mock you for because so did I. We both had Luton then Leeds. But you also had you had a bottom 3 of Preston, Sheff Wednesday, and Oxford, which was nowhere near. And I think Oxford ended up high enough. Oh no, I think Sheff Wednesday ended up high enough to get you -10 on that as well.
They had a good start to the season.
Yeah,
that basically set them for the rest of the year.
Yeah, no one got any points for the top scorer. I would say that if we're just doing, Connie actually got quite close because the top assisters in the championship were Josh Murphy and Tom Fellows with 14. And I think we may have mocked him for this, but Connie got by far the closest with top assists for the league, Dan James, who got 9, so not a million miles off. Benny had Joe Bellingham with 3. And then me, you, and Alex all had Ruter, who got 1 assist in 1 game. So as a ratio, can't really argue. Me and you did both get 10 points for Ryan Lowe being the first championship manager to go, which I believe was after 1 game.
Because they, for whatever reason, they thought, no, we're gonna support him. We are gonna keep this man 1 game. Bollocks to this.
Yeah, but just a shout out to show what I mean by Connie running away with it. Connie had 1st Leeds, 2nd Burnley. He had his playoffs were Sheffield United in 3rd, Coventry in 4th, Luton in 5th, where he did lose, but he only lost 10 instead of 20. because he just got above. And in 6th place, Sunderland. Pretty good going. And he got 5 points because you got 10 points for getting the correct playoff winner, 5 for the final. He had Sheffield United winning the playoffs, as did Alex. But that's like pretty subtle. Like that top 6 is no one saw the Luton thing coming, and everything else was right. Like can't really argue with that. His one terrible one was he had Bristol City getting relegated.
I think it's like an odd one.
Yeah, he had him in 22nd though. So because they finished 5th, it was only -10. It wasn't quite the 20 places. But the championship is what really, really pulls it apart because like Benny got 10 points, Alex got 10 points, I got 0, Connie got 25 for the championship stuff. KC, you got -30, which is spectacular. For the cups, there's nothing that mental, but there was the funny one for the Conference League. Benny, Alex, Connie had Chelsea. We refused to go for Chelsea on principle and went for Real Betis. So seeing as the final was Chelsea and Betis, not bad going. For the Europa League, Benny and Alex had Man United. Me and Connie had Spurs. KC, Atletico Bilbao. For the Champions League, none of us got into our PSG. It was Man City, Bayern, and 3 of us for Real Madrid. Shout out Connie. League Cup, Newcastle, who did win the League Cup, beating Liverpool in the final. I want to claim that I'm really fucking unlucky here. Because for the League Cup, I had Crystal Palace, who have never won a trophy in their entire history. And they did win one. It was just the FA Cup instead of the League Cup. I'd forgotten I did that. I was furious when I saw that. And for the FA Cup, there was 5 points for you and Alex because you both had Man City who got beat in the final. We've now got the league-specific predictions. The main thing being, you can tell we were confident because me, Connie, Alex, and Benny all had us first. You had us second. So we weren't far off. Casey, you did get 10 points for Young Player of the Year, Jorginho Rutter. No, Willie Nonto.
I was going to say.
I said Rutter. I said Rutter because there's a load of Rutter written just around it. Yeah, Nonto won it. Benny and Alex had Crew, who didn't really play. Me and Connie had Mateo Joseph. But for Player of the Year, me and you and Alex all had Georgie Rutter, which was a bit of a problem.
We were very confident he was staying, weren't we?
Yeah, we really didn't see it coming. Weirdly, on the going for the number of goals, we never predicted Peru because we didn't think he was going to start much, which at the start of the season was true. Yeah. But the funny thing, of course, is that every single one of us got -10 for Jorginho Rutter's goals because we've got a 10, 2 11s, 2 13s, and the answer's 0. One of the ones where fair play to Benny for being the only one that got this right. Will Leeds make a January first team signing? He was the only one that said no, which was true. Was there anything else that anyone was miles out on? Oh, none of us got. None of us
were going to make a signing in January.
Yeah, we all thought we'd make at least. Connie specified he thinks it'll be a loan, but we all thought that there'd be at least one. None of us got. Always the questions I like most in this are first new international cap and first under-21 league debut, and none of us got it because it was Sam Chambers.
Yeah.
3 of us were very unlucky because Charlie Crew, who me, you, and Alex had, came on 12 minutes later.
Yeah.
And Connie had DeBayo, who did come on a couple of games later. And for the first new international cap, there was me and Alex with Strauch. Benny had Mateo Joseph, which was brave, given he's Spain. You went for Georgie Rutter, because that's how good the season we thought we were going to have. And Connie went with what I thought was going to be quite a sensible pick at one point when he went for no one. But Caldalo, Wales, was the answer. So yeah, we for top scorer, none of us went for Peru. For top assists, Benny got 5 points for saying Firpo, who was second behind Solomon. So yeah, we weren't far off. I was a little bit unlucky with my mad prediction, which was the only one that was anywhere close, because I said the League One and League Two winners would get 100 points, and it was the Championship and League One winners who got over 100 points. So that wasn't far off.
Hello.
That is my daughter saying hi. Hello, Ava. I'll be with you in a second. There's nothing particularly out there in the likely unlikelies either.
What were our mad shouts for the year?
Well, mine was the League One and League Two winners getting 100 points or more.
I think I got
you had a Premier League matches abandoned due to floodlight failure,
which I got really annoyed about because one of the England women's matches got stopped because of floodlight failure.
Yeah,
and I was annoyed I hadn't made it slightly more broad. I don't know why I pinned myself into Premier League.
Yeah, and Alex's, which I've got here, I haven't got Connie's written down, but I don't think it was. He was someone who's relegated due to a points deduction after the final game of the season.
Yeah, and the FA and the Football League would never do something that daft. They don't have the balls.
No, but it did happen to Brescia.
The Italian, that happens all the time in Italy.
To be honest, he's only said someone. It doesn't affect the result, so I'm going to give him it.
That's it. Let someone else pull away from me.
Yeah, he's just still second. So yeah, sure, we can have it. But yeah, I think the main ones are terrible Luton predictions, and you're just getting everything about the Championship wrong, basically. Other than Ryan Lowe getting sacked.
I don't know why you make me do this every year, Jack.
Well, you're going to do it again next year. But this time, we don't have to do anything outside the Premier League and the Cups again, because we are going to become very spoiled Premier League fans, and therefore football in the Championship doesn't exist anymore, and we think we're above it.
I am for a year.
Yeah, and then we'll spend a summer learning about some players again, and then we'll lock up and go, oh yeah, he was good last season, I think. So yeah, that will do us for episode 320 of the Mighty Whites podcast. Just a bit of a catch-up one. We'll probably be back when either when something massive happens or when the timings line up for us to have a spare hour.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've been Jax here.
I've been Casey.